Let your voice be heard, time to elevate. Ay, call in or talk to me Tuesday. Ay, let your voice be heard, time to elevate. 95.9 FM, tune in and don't wait. What's on your mind Tuesday? Streaming on WOVU.org and 95.9 FM. And don't just listen, jump in and be the conversation. Let's go.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is Kenn Dowell and Dr. Heather Burton, and we are Strategic Moves radio program, and we come to you live every Tuesday right here in the heart of the, thank you, Uni, right in the heart of the Kinsman community, Midtown, Cleveland, at the WOVU 95.9 radio station and 95.9. You can listen to us live on 95.9 WOVU, and if you're lucky, you can catch us out here streaming live.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show. What's on your mind Tuesdays? Call in, comment, and connect on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go.
So, before we get started in our program today, what's going on with you, Doctor?
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the
See, this is what happens. This is what happens
What's
when
on
you've
your
been
mind
out of town
Tuesdays?
for the weekend.
Call
You
in,
come back and
comment,
just be
and connect
all
on WOVU 95 FM, WOVU.org.
Yeah, I was in Chicago this
and hit us up
weekend,
on
but then
social
yesterday
media.
I
Let's
did
go.
the parade. I did the 11th Congressional District Parade.
Really?
Yeah, and I hadn't participated in the parade, I feel like, in over like 10 years.
Wow.
Because I'm always traveling Labor Day weekend. I just so happened to come back Sunday and was able to do the parade. But yeah, great time.
You know, I done did that parade lots and lots of times. Me, my family, my kids, we done walked that parade for years in the rain. You know, we did that parade one time, and I believe it was actually snowing outside.
See, we just having mic problems today. I don't know what's going on, Uni.
Maybe we need to turn them up. I can barely hear myself, so maybe we need some volume. But yeah, we done did it out there in all kinds of weather, man. And the Congressional Day the Congressional Labor Day Parade is one that is also a big deal in our community. So everybody was out there, lots of folks. So, you know, it's a good thing. Congresswoman Chantel Brown is out there, and this is her new era of taking over that parade. I tell everybody it goes through stages.
Yeah.
And when Carl Stokes and Lou Stokes started it, it was one element of people remembering it one way. Then Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs had it for a while, and I helped her actually get it kicked off and got things going. Then Congresswoman at that time, Fudge, she stepped in, and she brought another group of people with her, with Arian Kirkpatrick and that group of folks. And now, you know, is Chantel Brown's era, and she's putting together a crew of people, and they've done developed a team. It seemed like they got it on autopilot. So now it seems like they're doing pretty good.
They're doing pretty good.
So I was glad to hear about all of that. What else happened? How you doing today, Uni? Anything happening in the city?
We might need to say something about Uni though before we don't want to get so happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. It's Uni's birthday. She turned 60 today, y'all. Yeah, she looks good.
She looks good for 60.
I'm telling you, man, she looks great, man. Yeah, I mean, good
If
Lord.
I look like that when I'm 60, I'm telling you.
I don't know what you're doing, girl. What you doing?
60 ain't 60 no more.
60 ain't 60 no more. That's what it is. She's looking great.
60's a new 30.
I appreciate
30.
I did turn 36.
Ooh.
I'm not ashamed to say I'm very grateful to God to still be here. I'm grateful to my family for supporting me. I've been operating out of gratefulness, and anytime I get angry about something that don't even matter for real, I go back to all the reasons it doesn't matter and my gratitude and all the reasons I am just gracious in general. I had a great birthday. I had my aunts and uncles over for Labor Day yesterday. I kind of kicked it around the city on Sunday, which was my actual birthday, the 31st of August. I'm a Virgo.
Okay.
But I had a great time, and I didn't realize I needed my family at the house for real. You know, when you just going through life and you're like, I don't want to be bothered. I just want to be alone. And then a whole bunch of people come over, and you're like, oh my God, I actually did.
I really needed
community.
this.
Like,
Oh, all right. So they just bum rushed you.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
our
cool.
family, they was like, well, we've been waiting all summer for your housewarming, and it's about to be over, and it's your birthday, so we coming over. Oh,
See?
okay.
All right.
I'll
That's
take
good.
it. I'll take it. I did, and I was very grateful that they decided to do that. So for my elders out there who feel like they don't want to overstep, sometimes we need y'all to. Period.
Excellent.
Yep, I would
Excellent.
agree. I would agree with that. Is that often we get into this space where we're like, oh, I just want to be by myself. I just need to be alone. But then you end up in community and it was like, this is the best thing that ever happened.
It's always that way. Yeah, I would totally agree. Because even I be that way. A lot of times I'd be wanting to be by myself. Just leave me alone. But it always seemed to work out a little bit better once you get your family and friends or just good people around you. Like you say, you went to the festival or
I went to the
parade,
festival and then
that
I
was
spent the
around.
weekend with my girls in Chicago. It's one
love
of our many
Chicago.
trips that we take to Chicago a couple times
Well,
a
you
year.
know, it's a good thing you made it back safe because Trump is on his way
Yeah.
to Chicago because Chicago
Is the
one-
worst
is
place in the
place
world.
in the world to live right now. He said
In the world.
He said, all the troops to Chicago next. So that's what's happening. So good thing you
Yeah.
made it out of there.
I did, but you know, it's one of those things, and I know I don't want to get off conversation, jump ahead, be in a different space, but I think it's just one of those things when we talk about that the person in office, and just the contradictory of what he does, who he is, what he says, because one minute you bringing in the troops for crime, the next minute you talking about is immigration, so you can try to justify why you bringing in the National Guard. All of it is bogus.
Right.
And to the people in Chicago, to the people in D.C., we keeping you in our prayers.
All right. Well, you know what? We're going to get our going today. You all right over there, Latif? You see you bumbling and stumbling. You good to go? We're good to go? We're good to go. All right, we're going to go ahead and Latif, we're going to put on a video. We're going to get our show started. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on around our country today. Sorry about that on the microphone, people. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on around the country today, how the government is trying to erase Black history and what's going on amongst African Americans here, information, things that was going on with the Smithsonian Institute, where the president is trying to take over there and take down some of the exhibits and things of that nature that's going on over there and that kind of thing. So we're going to put that out for discussion today. And if you want to be a part of that discussion, please leave us a comment. If you're following us on Facebook and Instagram, and we will make sure we get your comments up. And if you to get involved in this conversation. Before we go there, we're going to play a clip. We're going to do a couple of clips this week through this program. We're going to play this clip. After this clip goes off, we're going to then go into a commercial break. And when we get back from there, we're going to discuss. This is a snippet that we got from MSNBC. And we're going to listen to Nicole Hannah Jones. And she's a Pulitzer Prize winner. Pulitzer, how do you pronounce that, Doctor? Pulitzer Prize winner and author, and she had came up with a document that she put together, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So go ahead, Latif, roll that beam footage.
Reckoning in 2020. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So we know that these efforts to rewrite history, these disinformation campaigns, they go hand in hand. They erase the history first, and that allows them then to erase your rights. And so I talk about this organization called the United Daughters of the Confederacy that rises up after the And that is really a key theme of the essay. We understand that laws need enforcement when it comes to almost everything except civil rights. We understand that just because you outlaw murder doesn't mean you don't need a police department. It doesn't mean that you don't need an entire system of justice to enforce the laws and make sure that people follow them. Yet when it comes to civil rights, we kind of believe that they're self-enforcing, that just the very existence of those laws are enough to make people end discrimination and force all to have equality. Of course, that's never been true. So what Trump is doing in his administration, civil rights, we kind of believe that they're self-enforcing, that just the very existence of those laws are enough to make people end discrimination and for us all to have equality. Of course, that's never been true. So what Trump is doing in his administration is basically, he doesn't have the ability to overturn the 1964 Civil Rights Act or the Voting Rights Act or the Fair Housing Act, but he can gut the entire enforcement mechanism and send the message that if you discriminate, there's no one in federal government that is actually going to enforce the law. So what I tried to show in this piece is we have been here before in America. The entire civil rights movement was fought to really vindicate rights that Black people had already won following the end of slavery. The Civil Rights Acts that were passed in the 1860s, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment. These were laws that had already been passed, and yet they existed on paper. And when you had a federal government and state governments that wouldn't enforce them, it's as if those laws did not exist, and Black people were certainly not protected by them. And so this is the fears that we're entering another era like that.
Nicole, in your connection to history, the way that you how at the
all right, we're going to start off with that, and that's going to be some of the topic we're going to talk about once we get back from the break. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, Dr. Burton is going to break down some of the stuff that Ms. Jones was talking about as we get back to Strategic Moves with Dr. Burton and Kenn Dowell. We'll be right back.
Cleveland, this is your show, your topics and your voice. Join in for What's on Your Mind Tuesday on 95.9 FM WOVU. Call in or comment on social media. Let's make this conversation unforgettable. Streaming live on WOVU.org.
Support for WOVU 95.9 FM comes from HIP Cuyahoga, working with community partners to promote healthier environments where residents can live, work, learn, and play. HIP Cuyahoga connects individuals and neighborhoods with tools and resources for healthier living. Learn more at HIP Cuyahoga. That's HIP Cuyahoga.org. Powered by the Center for Disease and Control and the Cuyahoga County Board of Health.
Support for WOVU comes from the Alzheimer's Association.
In the fight against Alzheimer's, now matters more than ever because now we have treatments, so now we seize the moment. Now we make a difference and make some noise at the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's, held in communities like yours nationwide. Join the fight at alz.org/walk.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show for What's on Your Mind Tuesdays. Call in, comment, and connect on 95.9 FM WOVU, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go.
All right, we are back. Dr. Burton.
Yes, Kenn Dowell.
You heard all that madness that's going on right now in our country and what's taking place across our country with Donald Trump taking and dismantling just about programs in the Department of HUD, programs in the EPA, programs in the Education Department, and programs and as it relates to DEI, which you are very well aware of. And all of these things as an attempt to erase what's going on in Black history and how they see it. What he's saying is that when they go into places such as the Smithsonian and other places around our country and they look at the things that are there, the exhibits, these exhibits seem to show white folks looking like they're being bad and looking like everything they're saying that happened in our country was either they took stuff from the Indians or they were doing slavery. It's all bad, bad, bad. And even that lady on there, she said, every time, what's her name, Jillian Michaels? Mm-hmm. She said the same thing. It seemed like, white folks is just getting a bad rap these days. Yeah. As it relates to that. And so he's trying to dismantle this stuff. What do you get from all of this?
What do I get from it?
What's your Dr. Burtonism on all of this stuff? Oh,
goodness gracious. Nicole Hannah-Jones, and I had an opportunity to meet her.
Really?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to meet her back in end of May, beginning of June. Mm-hmm. So even met her right after I had received my layoff and stopped working for DEI. Right. And we had great conversation. It was one-on-one conversation. Mm-hmm. But I think she says it best, or she said it best, and this is that this is not new, but in understanding what it means to not be new is that you're taking us back to Reconstruction, to after Reconstruction. So a lot of the things parallel, and even when we think about what Reconstruction, and she talked about that in that particular video, but in looking at DEI and this whole idea, that was the argument with Reconstruction.
That's correct.
Is that black folks were getting things that they didn't deserve. And so she used the example of the Daughters of the Confederate and this new movement of white women, which is a liberating white women, or I don't think that's what it's called, but I'm about to make up a name. Wait, I think I got it in my phone. It's liberating something. Oh, Moms for Liberty.
Okay.
So Moms for Liberty. And this whole retelling, just like with the Smithsonian, is that we're going to retell the story to make us feel good. So this isn't about history, but this is about what makes us feel good. And it's also the skewed perspective of when you live in tunnel vision, it's easy for you to see things from one lens.
Right.
And that's exactly what's happening, is that we seeing things from one lens, and so we looking at the Smithsonian, we saying, oh no, this was not the case, not for my people. White people didn't do this to black people. White people were nice. Like, what's that man's name? Byron Donaldson said that slavery was the best for us. Then it's the black man.
Right.
Talking about slavery was good for us because we have food and clothing and we can eat, and that's when we learn skills that help us now. So if you have this skewed perspective, then you're going to justify what you feel is right. I also think about...
Well, it was somebody who also said that it was, like you said, it was better to be a slave in that regard. But let me ask you, because I want to take that statement.
Which one?
That statement where the guy said at some point in time it was better to be a slave because you would get food and all of that. Do you believe that there was ever a time, and I ain't talking about just blacks, I'm just talking about in general, just in history. You think it was ever a time where actually being a slave was better than being a free person with nothing? And the reason why I'm saying that is because how kingdoms and things were built out.
But that
right?
wasn't chattel slavery.
No, I ain't talking about chattel slavery.
But see, that's why I'm saying we got to justify the difference.
Because
we're talking about.
That's why I'm trying to say.
And that was a debt being paid, and you paid a 7-year debt, and then you were free.
That's what I'm saying.
And so you could look for the anticipation of what freedom meant.
And I think that's what they tried to.
Yeah, that's what they try to make American slavery.
That's what they're trying to. There you go. That's
the thing. We can't. Right. That's like comparing apples to oranges.
Correct.
You cannot compare the two when we talk about chattel slavery in America and what that was.
I don't think people actually really understand what chattel slavery.
No, they don't.
And that's the issue.
But they can take well, I don't teach it anymore, but.
Well, you can teach it here.
But they could take the class to learn what chattel slavery is. And it's really understanding the fact. First of all, you got to understand that when we talk about slavery in America, the dehumanization that happened. And so when you dehumanize a race of people, you strip them completely of who they are, any identity, any aspect of being human. And then the second thing with chattel slavery is that you're property.
Right.
And so just as I hit this monitor, hit this microphone, I can do the same thing to you because you're property. You aren't a human. And I think that's the disconnect that most people don't. One, they don't want to believe. And two, they don't want to accept. And three, they don't understand. And remember, now we have so many people that still stand on this whole thing with slavery was so long ago.
Right. Right.
And so if you stand in that mentality, then you don't want to learn and you don't want to hear. But I think going also with Nicole Hannah-Jones and what she said about the fact that we have laws and we had laws after slavery. We had the 13th Amendment. We had the 14th Amendment. We had the 15th. We had this. We had the Civil Rights Act of the 1800s. But the reality is policy doesn't change behavior. And when you think that you're being threatened by something, then you're going to come back and figure out how can I destroy the policy. And the one great thing that she said that, I just agree with wholeheartedly is this whole idea of dismantling DEI.
Okay.
Is that dismantling DEI is not a law, but what you're doing is dismantling civil rights. And that's what people need to be aware of. We're so caught up in this whole concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion that we don't realize what laws and policies are being stripped to dismantle and kill us as a people.
How do you feel that this whole thing of them dismantling, how it plays on the future as it relates to the younger people and the folks who are coming up, who basically are not getting it the way they're getting it now? And if they cut off what we got, then we're living in a world where it's just totally gone. Right?
Yeah, you look at it; it's going to be generational curses, generational problems. Because if you look at now and the folks that are losing jobs and the folks that have been cut, you're talking about middle class, upper class. If you destroy the middle class, and this goes for all of those conservative black folk that, and I don't want to use conservative because there's some conservative folks that are good; they have some good trains of thoughts. But those black folks who live in these glass houses and think that things aren't going to touch them, is that if you look at what's happening across the board now, and we look at this as it relates to middle class, if the middle class is destroyed, what does that do to our children?
That's correct.
Our children now become low income. And so then their children's children become low income, and then their children's children. And so we then have this whole mentality of folks to have, especially on the one side of that, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. But when we get to the second and third generation that's been low income, they don't have any boots anymore. And so we got this whole mindset of arriving, but when he's destroying the middle class black community, now you're destroying a whole economic system as well.
So what about the folks that are not black? Hell, it's more of them than it is of us.
I can't think about them right now.
I mean, I just don't understand.
I got to stay sane.
I got it. I just can't understand the theory in it. It's
but
you got to be killing off more of them.
Yeah, you are. And what's interesting, yesterday at the, what'd you say, Uni? You can't be making, I'm gonna see your lips move.
I said he don't care about them. This ain't about color anymore. It's about class. He don't care about poor whites either.
He doesn't care about anybody except the rich. But it was yesterday at the parade, there was a group of white people who were saying Trump must go.
Yeah, I heard about that. I heard about that.
And they were out there. And I respect them for that. But I had to get in a mindset that you need to be talking to your brothers and sisters. Like, you don't need to be talking to me.
So you walking down the
I know Trump must go. Like, I know this.
I got you.
But that brother that you got that's living in somewhere, or that sister or that cousin, those are the people that you also need to be talking to. And I think that's the other thing. And I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that, and they said it was a big group of them towards the end of the parade. They said that kind of came up with that. But I'm like you kind of preach it to the choir. I think that we already know he must go, and that kind of thing. So to your point, they do 2 parades. I don't know if they did the one on the west side this year. I think they might do it every other year. But yeah, I think, and they probably was there as well. But I'm thinking, to your point, that there ought to be more conversation on that side than it is on our side as it relates to that. Lateef, I want you to go ahead and play the second clip for me. Play the first clip now instead. We was going to play the first one, but let's start off with that one. That's the one that's number 1. And we're going to play that, and we're going to go into a break, and we're going to come back because it's going to talk. It's kind of helping us set up some of the stuff we were just talking about.
Welcome back to Velshi on MSNBC. I'm Charles Coleman Jr. filling in for Ali today. Now, since returning to office, Donald Trump has dismantled decades-old agencies and initiatives which were initially designed to protect Black Americans and other marginalized communities. He has justified these actions by claiming he's rooting out racial discrimination disguised as diversity, equity, and inclusion. But as Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Nicole Hannah-Jones points out in a new essay for the New York Times Magazine, in just months, Trump has managed to upend 6 decades of civil rights progress. And here's how. He's effectively dismantled the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Program. This is the very agency created to enforce the Civil Rights Act and to prevent discrimination in employment tied to federal dollars. He's also gutted the funding and staff needed to investigate and fight housing discrimination. He shuttered the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights, which addressed the fact that Black communities are disproportionately exposed to toxic pollutants, pesticides, and waste. He's also closed the Department of Veteran Affairs Equity Office. Now, that office was dedicated to addressing the racial disparities in how disabled veterans receive compensation. He shut down regional civil rights offices that were key to fighting discrimination in schools and to enforcing desegregation. And he's even forced schools to eliminate initiatives that diversify teacher pipelines and support Black students to help close the achievement gap. And that that's just some of what he's done as part of an sweeping effort to dismantle every program, every office, law, or mandate designed to protect the civil rights of Black Americans and other marginalized communities. These are protections that are still very much so desperately needed as the data continues to show that Black Americans suffer disproportionate discrimination across every sector of American life. Perhaps most disturbingly, he's now using the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department to enforce executive orders dismantling diversity programs. Nicole Hannah-Jones put it plainly, quote, by developing the Civil Rights Act against the very people, by deploying the Civil Rights Act against the very people it was created to protect, conservatives hope to get as close to their ultimate goal as possible, repealing it. Joining me now is Nicole Hannah-Jones. She's a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter.
All right, that's what he just did in the last 6 months, Doctor. Good Lord, it ain't really nothing left. I mean, you listen to all of that dismantling and everything that he's done in the last 6 months. Everything that has to do with anything that's African American, any program that was pro-Black or anything like that, he has just shut it down. And if that's not enough to get Black folks to somewhat trying to figure out how we can sit down and come together, I just don't know what's. I mean, I only reason why I really wanted to play that clip was because when I listened to it, it was just like, good Lord, that's everything.
Yeah, it is. But here's the scary part, Ken, is how many people realize all of that is happening.
Right.
That's the scary part,
right.
Is that this stuff is happening under our nose.
Correct.
And folks are not aware as to how these systems are being destroyed and dismantled intentionally.
Yes.
There's intentionality behind it. And I go back to and Nicole Hannah-Jones said this, I go back to the idea of what happened with Reconstruction, is that Black people started progressing. He's looking now at today and like, you Negroes have accomplished and achieved too much. And so because you have accomplished and achieved too much, I'm going to figure out how to stop you at every step of the way.
He's doing a good job of it. Good Lord. I mean, every program, down to the EPA, he was like, I don't even want y'all to get good air quality.
Right. Right. And some of it is just, some of this is how can I just be controversial to kill a government system?
That's about what it is.
Yeah.
And some of it's shut down. Some of it, I don't know if this was part of his plan to try to make government more efficient or whatnot, but it's all targeted at minorities. There's even Florida schools is pushing a narrative to that enslaved people benefited from slavery. That's the narrative that they want to push. Yeah, that's
the whole rewriting of history, and that people are actually writing new books, and these new books are talking about how slavery, in their perspective of what slavery was not.
When these laws are protected and they're built and they were meant to protect us, and they're using them against us in some aspects, and some of the ways that he's closing some of these programs down, some of the new laws that they're putting in. When I say use against us, when he deploy the army and the military in the areas and doing things of that nature, how do you believe as Black community should be our proper response? And I know I throw this at you all the time as if you Sister Soldier, the activist queen, but just in your opinion, when we talk about what are some of the things you think we should be doing as a community?
Well, first I want to clarify that one, we need to know the difference between laws, what's a law and what's not.
Okay.
And I think did we ever play that on this call? I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill.
Yeah,
we played that.
We did that.
But I think we need to understand what's law and what's not. And we talked about this last week with Judge Nelson with these executive orders and what they mean versus being a law and something that's actually passed that says this is the case. And so what we are losing now is the dismantling. And so if I destroy the departments, then I don't have the people to push forth the laws. And even when it comes to like the National Guard and that, he breaking the law.
Right.
So what we can't do is justify what he's doing as something that is right and something that is legal in law, because the stuff that he's doing is not legally based and it's not law.
You
And
know-
I think that's clarification number one for the community.
Okay.
Is knowing
What's
what
wrong?
is law and what's not. And what we, and even in our daily conversation. So when we having conversations with people, we don't need to say that the law says such and such now. The law said that the National Guard can go into DC. That's not law. This is the ignorance of somebody who's perpetuating this hate that he has towards people. And so I think it's important for us to separate those things. We've got to be more aware of what's happening within society. And I'm guilty because I disconnect sometimes because I just can't take it. I disconnect. But I also sit back, and because I'm in the midst of not only doing the work, but I'm in the midst of being unemployed due to the dismantling of programming.
Exactly.
Watching people around me who are unemployed due to the dismantling of programming, watching what it's doing to people, is that if we don't wake up and see what's happening, we will end up, we already headed to a dictatorship. We already headed to this authoritarian government, because that's what he's trying to do. And those are the things that we have to block. And we have to stop giving the platform to say that it's legal. We have to also stop giving a platform for what I like to say is news alerts and headlines without knowing the facts and the true story.
Do you think this thing that Donald Trump is doing, because people say that it's headed towards a dictatorship and that kind of thing, do you think that the government will go towards that, or you think this is a Donald Trump thing? And what I mean by that is, Donald Trump kind of came in, broke the mold a little bit on some of the stuff he's doing. Do you think that it'll be a reset afterwards, or you think that the next person behind him will probably be equally as dangerous?
I think it depends on who the next person is that's behind him, and what the respect is for government, and what the respect is for democracy.
Do you believe that if it was a Democrat, should take on some of the same audacities that the Republicans did in order to be successful? Meaning, there's a lot of audacity that the nerve of them to do some of the stuff they did. It wasn't that they couldn't, because a lot of the stuff Donald Trump, it ain't that,
I don't even
it's
think,
just like, wow, I don't believe you actually, you could do it, but you really did it,
Right. And I think for Donald Trump, when he first came in, I mean, once he got that immunity,
it was over.
It was over. I mean, that was step one. So because think about it, everything that he's done is illegal.
Right.
So if I have immunity against anything illegal action, I can do stuff that's illegal. That immunity goes to any president. So it doesn't matter Democrat or Republican unless it's voted on again to change. And I also want to say that I'm not going to label it as whether the next person is Democrat or Republican, more so as the next person is evil. Because you perpetuate your views and your values and your morals based on who you are. And so it has nothing to do with political affiliation. It has to do with the evilness of moving forward. I always think about, especially him, and what he's supposed to stand on in relationship to Christian values or moral values. How can you say you stand on Christian and moral values, but you oppress the poor and the widows?
Because he don't stand on that.
Well, I know that.
Yeah, that's his buzzword.
I know what buzzwords is. He holds Bibles upside down, so I know you don't stand on nothing. But I'm just saying, this is what people don't listen to, and this is the contradictory that is before us. Is you saying you stand on this and you stand on that, but you do the complete opposite of what you say you stand on.
He be standing on business.
He stand on what's going to make him $1 million. Let's pull his tax returns for 2025.
You can't. We never able to see Donald Trump's tax returns. His accountant is still doing his taxes from when he ran the last time.
Yep. And that's why we can't see anything. But who's been making money in 2025?
You know that's right. That brother got the longest extension on his taxes than anybody
we ever know.
That's a hell of an extension. Jesus.
I don't have that kind of extension.
Really. And in fact, taxes are due. they're coming up. So anybody who was filing late this season, this end of September, you better get your taxes in. And the reason why I know that, I got an ugly email from my accountant who told me that exact same message. So it is tax season.
It's tax season.
Yes, it is. So
I don't know. I always file on time.
I never file on time, and it ain't like I got Donald Trump's money. It ain't nowhere close to that. I just never file on time. Hey, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we get back, we're gonna play one last clip about what's going on and talk a little bit more about what's happening here with what's going on with the erasure of Black history in our community. Dr. Burton and Kenn Dowell, strategic moves. Right? You hear that big old?
Yeah, that was me. You know, because when you said was I know it was all in the microphone. It's just so disheartening. It's disheartening. I'm sorry, listeners.
Yeah, I just want to let you know that wasn't meant for me.
It wasn't meant for him. It was meant for what I was actually listening to what Ken said we were coming back to talk about, and
you know what, y'all? It's disheartening, but that's what the show is about today, y'all. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Unless you want to talk about something else, Doctor.
No, I will follow your lead for that part of the segment.
You know, we're gonna talk about next week's show, because next week we're gonna let you run.
Next week we won't let me run because I won't be here next week.
Oh my God!
Public announcement.
We just found out Dr. Burton won't be here next week. All right.
Unless I call in.
You can take. Where you going? You going on vacation?
I will be in Jackson, Mississippi, for the National Missionary Baptist Convention of America. I have a workshop to do on. Yes, I have a workshop to do on Sunday, and so I'm flying in Saturday. But my plan is to visit museums. So
in Jackson, Mississippi.
In Jackson, yeah. I've never been to the Civil Rights Museum, but I hear they got one in a great Civil Rights Museum.
That's not the one in. They got one in Alabama.
In Alabama, yeah.
The one that makes everybody come out of there.
Right.
Broken up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to visit museums when I go. I even went to the Confederate Museum in Richmond once.
Really?
Yeah. I texted everybody and said, if I'm out in 2 hours, this is where I am.
Oh, they were loving to see you come in there. Hey, welcome.
Well, that's when I was really teaching too. So, you know, knowledge was a little more at the forefront with some stuff. So I did have to challenge the tour guide.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
yeah, you might not have made it out.
I might not.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with Dr. Burton, and we're going to talk more about this erasure of African American history here at WOVU 95.9 FM. Be right back.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show for What's on Your Mind Tuesdays. Call in, comment, and connect on 95.9 FM WOVU, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media.
Ohio's general election is Tuesday, November 4th. The deadline to register is Monday, October 6th. Registration is available online at olvr.ohiosos.gov, by mail or in person at designated locations such as libraries, the BMV, and the Board of Elections. This election includes policies that impact housing, healthcare, education, and public safety. For details, visit boe.cuyahogacounty.gov/voters.
It's your turn to speak up. Call in and tell us what's on your mind. Join the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show on 95.9 FM WOVU or stream live at WOVU.org. Let's make your voice count. Let's go.
All right, everybody. Lateef, go ahead.
I don't know how long I don't know if we could do a whole hour show on Channel. I mean, we can.
Reckoning in 2020. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So we know that these efforts to rewrite history, these disinformation campaigns, they go hand in hand. They erase the history first, and that allows them then to erase your rights. And so I talk about this organization called the United Daughters of the Confederacy that rises up after the end of the Civil War. I liken them to, the post-Reconstruction era version of the Moms for Liberty that we see today, which is this group of white women who decide that they want to rewrite the narrative around the white South and why we ever had a civil war in the first place. And so they begin to take control and try to urge the changing of curriculum. They're writing textbooks, and they are basically legitimizing Jim Crow because they are writing a story, a narrative of the South that Black people were incapable of self-governance, that Black people were getting jobs and getting positions that they didn't deserve, that may sound familiar to the times that we're in, and that Black people were not the rightful participants in democracy. So you have these narratives that are being put out in textbooks, that are being placed, all of the Confederate monuments that we saw, those don't begin until after the fall of Reconstruction. They don't happen right after slavery. And that's creating a narrative that allows the stripping of Black people's rights. So I think we're seeing a similar effort here. These efforts to really downplay the history of racism, to downplay Black accomplishments. The federal government and the Donald Trump administration, we paid a lot of attention to the way that they have been working to erase the accomplishments of Black people. We haven't paid as much attention to the way that they're actually eradicating the enforcement mechanisms for our civil rights. I think that is just as critical. And the last point I want to quickly make, we keep labeling this DEI. That's because the Trump administration is saying that what he's doing is challenging DEI. Well, first of all, no court has ever said DEI is illegal or discriminatory, but also they're not actually tackling DEI alone. They're actually dismantling the ability to integrate our organizations to try to bring about equality and the enforcement of civil rights.
Always something that I think about, which is...
All right, so what we was talking about in this video and finishing it out is just a... Whoa, something wrong?
You ain't hear the way he said we. You start talking like a slave when we came back. You said wheeze.
Oh, wheeze. I got caught up.
They trying to take us back. Don't go willingly, my brother.
The ancestors caught up with
Use free.
I'm the free man's on this mic here. I don't have to talk like that. Well, what I was trying to say in my Harvard voice here is that, threw me off, Uni. But basically, what we were talking about was how they was dismantling civil rights.
Yeah.
And we talk about all the times where some of this stuff that they're doing is a dismantling of DEI, we would say. We heard about that. We hear about some of the programs and stuff that they are doing. But civil rights, Doctor, is a big one on there that we talk a little bit about that, we really fought hard to try to develop some of these basic civil right things that he is systematically not going right at them, tearing them apart, but he's taking a long way around getting to them, and ultimately it's going to affect some of these civil rights, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think she says it, she says it in that quote of him trying to take us back to Jim Crow segregation. And which is a whole nother conversation, the difference between segregation and separatism, but him taking us back to Jim Crow segregation and post-Reconstruction, because I mentioned this earlier, and Nicole Hannah-Jones says it on that in the clip, is that we had the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was the abolishment of slavery. We had the 13th Amendment, abolishment of slavery. Then you had the 14th Amendment, citizenship. Then you had the 15th Amendment, the right to vote. And I would always tell students, if we've got these three amendments, then what do we need the Civil Rights Act of 64 for? What did we need the Civil Rights Act of 68 in terms of voting? It's because there are policies, laws that had to be in place to negate what happened through Jim Crow. And so if he's dismantling civil rights, which is here, that's the legal framework. And I'm not an attorney. By no means, but that's the legal framework. If I dismantle the legal framework, then what holds me accountable? Nothing.
And he's doing little, like we say, baby steps, because you heard he's trying to do it with the voting. Even though voting is done by the states, but he's from a federal end trying to say, hey, we don't want early voting as a tool anymore.
But which kills me, because as a Republican views is that is you trying to give states back rights. So you want to give states back right in certain things, but then you want to come in and change it when it don't agree with what you want it to be.
Exactly.
And a great example is the National Guard into these states, into these cities. If you want the states to run their states, then let the states run their states.
That's correct.
But this is what I mean by just a big ball of contradiction.
And nobody says they want you in their state. I mean, that's the problem. Even and here's, I saw this online. Since we on this, we coming around, we could talk a little bit about a couple of things. I saw a article. Not it was an article. It was something I was watching online on the interwebs. And when I was looking at that, they were showing these states that had the highest crime. It was like be safe in Mississippi.
Yeah, Mississippi, Memphis.
Memphis.
I think St. Louis.
St. Louis was the other one. All of these were all Republican states.
Where is he going there? Nope.
And they can use it probably. I mean, they could probably really use it, and he's not talking about going to any of those places.
What he's doing is attacking these states where there are Democratic officials or there are black mayors.
Oh, here. Speaking of black mayors, I saw a mayor, and when I looked at her get up there and she said what she said, I said, she done assimilated. And that's that mayor of D.C. The mayor of D.C. was on the news recently saying that the crime in D.C. is now down 87%. Since Donald Trump done been in there. He only been in there for a few weeks, and now first she was against him coming in totally. We don't want him here.
But was there more to that clip? Was that a whole interview or was that a clip?
That was her interview. She done assimilated.
Because I didn't see it. I didn't see it because I'm wondering if there was a contradict. I mean, if she might have been saying it's down 87% because people ain't on the street and doing nothing because of the violation that they have done to people's rights.
I did not hear all of that, Doctor. All I heard was she said it was down. And this is what she did say. She said carjackings were down. And I was like, wow. So she said 87%, and she got on there and she said if it wasn't for the hard work of what the president wanted to thank him for coming. She assimilated, Doctor.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, and I'm not going to speak on it because I didn't see it, and you know how I am. If I don't see it, I don't.
I got you.
I'm not going to give an opinion of it.
I'm going to play it. We need
next
week. I'm by myself.
You by yourself?
Oh my God!
I might have to call in.
Doctor, go be praying for me because y'all know when I'm by myself, I'm gonna talk. I got my show already.
Right.
I do the show.
I've been trying to get Ken some stats and stuff.
I'm gonna do the shows with Doctor don't want to be in the studio on these shows, so I'm gonna get a good one next week.
If she's assimilated, or I would be curious to hear the entire interview.
Yeah.
And
when I say assimilate, I'm using that just to laugh at her because she was at one point was totally against it, and now she's like, hey, it's kind of working for us and that kind of thing. And I can't imagine. I couldn't imagine.
I can't imagine because you've got people who are being abused and attacked.
Lateef, look that up. Why we got a few more minutes. Look it up. This is the mayor of D.C. And she's talking about crime. We could probably find that before we get out of here. Yeah, but she basically came into that, and I was just really shocked because I didn't think she didn't even give it enough time. It was like, come on, man, let's give the man 30 days.
That's why it's got to be more to this. It's got to be more. I couldn't believe
she just came out and said that.
It's got to be more.
So that kind of bothered me, and I think that
unless they done put a threatening. I watched. There was this movie where they had people threaten, and then AI changed their quote into what it wanted it to be.
I saw this.
You see that movie? I can't think of who was in it.
But you're right. They was making them say
something based on AI.
That was
maybe that's what happened.
No, she said. I think what happened was she knew that in D.C. all their laws and everything got to go through Congress. So maybe she just got to the point like, hey, I just can't win this fight.
Hey,
everyone, as we continue to see federal agents and National Guard in D.C.
Uh-oh. You found play it. All right, we about to play this clip.
Politically, is this a winner for President Trump and the White House? They seem to think that it is, and there may be some data that backs that up. Right now, overwhelming majorities of Americans see crime as a serious issue and see being tough on crime as the right stance. It's a little more nuanced when you ask people about the federal response. The vast majority of Americans do not want to see the federal government take over local police departments, but a small majority actually support having a federal presence in certain cities if that's going to help reduce crime. Meantime, we just heard from D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser today, who has been very complimentary of the surge, saying in D.C. it is working to bring down violent crime. She talked about an 87% drop in carjackings. She said that she's going to continue to have Washington, D.C. officials work with the federal government any way they can to try to continue to reduce crime. And she also said she supports President Trump's plan to ask Congress for $2 billion to improve not just crime and homelessness, but infrastructure in Washington, D.C. That means parks, that means street signs, that means revitalizing the city physically.
The district over the last 10 years, I have had a significant effort on improving infrastructure, especially alleys, local streets, trees, lights throughout the district. And you can see the change over these last 10 years of roads that were in poor condition to roads that are now in good or excellent condition. We will, though I don't know much of the details, we will be supportive of the president's $2 billion request to improve infrastructure, especially federal infrastructure in the district.
President Trump has gone further in calling for...
Yeah, there it is.
But that wasn't, that was the support of the infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Them quotes of the 86 and all of that came from the reporter.
Yeah, he said they were her quotes.
Yeah, but sometimes, the media has been so good with taking stuff out of context and giving clips that I don't know. I'm hesitant with anything that the media reports these days. Especially coming out of DC.
I'm not saying she's wrong.
Because I've seen people now flip.
I'm not saying she's wrong now.
Yeah, but I've seen people flip now when we talking about CNN, when we talk about MSNBC, where the reporting and how folks are reporting these days is unreal in terms of what they're putting out. And it's almost like I said earlier, it's just disappointing and discouraging of what media is doing.
And it's really hard, to your point. It's that, like you say, you get the media who gets you one spin, then you get the brother with the podcast who out there with cameras who's showing you other stuff. You got people out there with phones who's saying, so you can, if you can get one look at it and it can look like it's really bad, you can take another look at it, it can be whatever. I think it was it the mayor in Chicago was talking, and I think this is another misrepresentation of taking quotes out of perspective. It's telling, if you want to come in here, give us money for detectives, give us money for this. Correct. So, but if you take that out of context, now it sounds like you saying, yes, I support the federal government giving me money for troops coming in, and that's not what's being said. And that was a big deal because they tried to. It was Joe Scarborough on Morning Joe. Yeah, he was trying to get him to say that he just want this money for the police, and he wouldn't say it.
He wouldn't say it.
He wouldn't say it. No.
And Joe made me mad. Something happened to my headphones. Hold on.
Oh, push that.
I done lost.
Uh oh. Can't hear yourself.
Oh, there it go. Wait. My headphone is.
But yeah, Joe Scarborough was on there that morning, and he was having such a big deal trying to really get this guy to admit that he was having an issue, and he wasn't having it. He wasn't having it. He was like, no, I admit that police presence is part of the issue, but we need more help with other forms. If you're going to give us some resources, give us resources in that regards, not in bodies. I mean, they show videos of the guys out there raking up areas and just out there doing just regular stuff. And it's like, come on, man, you pulling people away from their families, and you got everybody's coming out here for nothing, man. They don't need to be there sweeping
and then
up
you
the
threaten.
Capitol.
I mean, my thing is you threatening people on their porches. They can't even sit on their porches without
Yes.
somebody coming up and
Yes.
asking them what you doing.
Yes.
So all of that kind of stuff.
And DC is a little different than here because their porches is a stoop. And their porches is like what you walk up and it's just a stoop.
It's just a stoop.
That's their porches, and so you can walk down the sidewalk and literally walk right up on somebody at their house.
At their house,
and it's terrible. At least here, like you said, you got to walk up the driveway.
You got to walk up the driveway.
Got to come up in there. And you may run before they get to you.
I'm in my doors before you even come up in. But one of the other things that I heard, and I don't even know the data on this, but I was listening to a podcast earlier today that was talking about even when we talk about ICE and immigration and the fact that you've got these people pretending like they're ICE because they're not in any type of uniform, but they're kidnapping women and taking women for trafficking purposes.
That's correct.
And so that's what I mean. Like you think you solving something on one hand, but then you hurting a whole lot on the other hand.
But you know what? That's part of the plan too.
Oh,
yeah. They wouldn't care if they was taking people out of here doing that stuff. I don't see no real big. If that's what's happening.
Because all we want to do is make. I mean, not we, but all they want to do is make it back into this white land.
Well, Dr. Burton, as we end all shows, you got something you want to leave the people with before we go?
Yeah, people, I'm tired. It's conversations like this, and then sometimes I'm like, why do I listen to some of the podcasts I listen to because they wear me out too. But it's tiring. And I've even gotten to the point now of being more vocal in spaces I didn't used to be vocal because I'm tired of carrying it by myself. So, and an example I use is the gym that I work out and people who talk to me. So you want to talk to me, you're going to find out what I'm dealing with right now. You're going to find out that because you voted for Trump, I'm one of the people who got laid off. I'm one of the people that's dealing with the dismantling of things and trying to fight the other side. And so it's that, but I'm tired. So, but we got to encourage each other.
That's what
I always end on a positive note is that in spite of being tired, I know there's still work to do and I know there's different ways. And so for me, like I'm praying on my next of what's that next assignment? What am I supposed to do to make a difference and not just sit in the misery or the discouragement?
Well, I tell you what we will do for you, Doctor, and we'll do this for our audiences. We're going to switch it up a little bit.
We're going to play Outgoing Sun?
No.
Oh.
She said, play Outgoing Sun, get us up out of here, play something
You gonna
good.
play something good?
That wouldn't be a bad idea. But what we're going to do is we're going to switch it up on some of the topics we do because, like I say, we do some heavy topics. We keep going over this stuff. And it kind of, as every week I come in like, what we going to talk about Trump again?
Yeah, and it's hard, though, because this is what's happening around us.
Right. And
I still feel like we need to educate the people, though.
We do. But we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to let you talk a little bit more about some of the other stuff that you're interested in and some of the stuff you're good about. We had a topic we were talking about. It was almost the one, and I think that's what we'll do when you come back. The one we were saying, men are like Mars and men are like, but you said spaghetti.
Oh, it's a book. It's actually a book. It's called Women Are Like Spaghetti or Men Are Like Waffles and Women Are Like Spaghetti.
That's the topic.
That's what we're gonna
That's what you're gonna put your show around.
Well, we need to get some guests up in here because me and you gonna be fighting up in here.
We'll get some guests. We'll talk more about that. And everybody, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show. Lateef, you got some good feel-good music and play it out because they just letting us do our thing. So
right. We don't even have our sound. She just disappeared and went in another room.
Let's go and put some music on, dog. What
happened with
They done messed up now. They done made me R&B singer. I got Joe Little with me. Can we go back to the classics? Joe Little, what you got for me?
Written all over your face. Ain't my song, y'all. You don't have to say a word. You ain't gotta say one word. Tell them what to do, baby. Smile, smile, smile for me. Smile for me. Any word I want. Yeah, yeah. Here we go, y'all. Come on, y'all ready?